In 1895 in France, two brothers, Auguste and Louis Lumière, invented the cinematography, a motion picture film camera. This was the first step in theorizing what we call film today. They were unfortunately quoted saying, "Cinema is an invention with no future." Little did they know that they had created something special. In 1895, the first cinema screened Arrival of a Train, which was groundbreaking for the public. It was so new and realistic, people ran out of the cinema screaming because they thought the train on screen was going to kill them by hitting them. There are many ways we see editing, but it's all to do with the science behind it. The eye is the reason why we see certain things like flipbooks and zoetropes come to life. It's to do with your persistence of vision. An image still remains on your retina for 1/25th of a second. The thaumatrope is a perfect example of this. A disc or a card with a picture on each side is attached to two pieces of string that you can twirl can combine two images into one moving image. This is because the image still remains on your retina for a very quick amount of time. This toy was very popular amongst children in Victorian times. The same can be said about flipbooks and other toys that demonstrate persistence of vision. Stop frame animation is an incredibly popular method of creating and crafting a story out of inanimate objects. When visualized, this can revolutionize how we see the world. In 1990, Nick Park created Wallace and Gromit, a British clay animation series which used stop motion to craft a story amongst clay figurines. They manipulated physical objects in a way so when the finished product is crafted, your persistence of vision kicks in and creates the illusion of movement within the visuals. Edward Muybridge's invention, the Zoopractoscope, revolutionized film. Due to the exposure to different images, he was able to create stop frame animation with his device. Again, the reason being persistence of vision. There were many editing pioneers to set the trend of editing. Edwin S. Porter was one of the first pioneers with Life of an American Fireman in 1903 and The Great Train Robbery in 1903. D.W. Griffith revolutionized the industry with a very unique method of filming. He used many different camera angles such as close-ups and broke up his film into what we call scenes. His film Birth of a Nation was a groundbreaking film that used continuity to its advantage. If there were no editors, there would be no film. In 1891, Thomas Edison founded Edison Studios, which was committing even more to the industry and helping it grow. The final editing pioneer I will get to is called Georges Méliès. He was a French magician who adopted the Lumière brothers' invention to use for his own unique creations. He created a famous piece called A Trip to the Moon. Through the use of making different scenes and set switches, he was able to construct a narrative story for his film. And this is now what we recognise as continuity editing. By cutting the film up into segments, these were editing skills that inspired a generation of talented editors and filmmakers.
In 1917, the Russian Revolution was heavily influenced by film. Lenin used Soviet filmmakers to help sway the public. The editing process in film could be used as propaganda against the monarchy, and it was. In 1927, the Jazz Singer was released, and it was the first film created with the technology of sound actually being edited into the film. So when it was shown in the cinema, the sound actually came from the film rather than being accompanied by an in-cinema piano. 1930 marked the start of the golden age of Hollywood, or what it is considered to be, and it is thought to have stretched well into the 40s and ended there. The late 1950s and early 60s saw a very different editing style come into popularity. It was very different from the original way of editing developed in Hollywood. Everything had been structured before then, and there was an unwritten film law of how to edit together footage, like what went after what. However, French New Wave turned these ideas on their head. Footage was messier and used more jump cuts. This was inspired by French filmmakers like Jean-Luc Godard. Directors like him were defining the editing rules.
There are many different rules editors and directors use whilst filming. Two very essential ones are the 180-degree rule and the 30-degree rule. The 180-degree rule is designed to maintain screen direction. In order to do this, the 180-degree rule states that once you have placed the camera on one side of your subjects, you must maintain other camera angles you wish to use within the 180-degree arc you have established the first shot in. This is done with a line of action, or line of vision. This is used to keep the viewer focused and to not break immersion, as using this rule in a conversation scene is appropriate because you are watching the actor's sight lines stay consistent. The 30-degree rule is slightly different. The 30-degree rule states that if you are going to cut between two angles filming the same subject, the camera must have at least moved 30 degrees. If you break this rule during editing, you can break the viewer's immersion, as this causes a jump cut that can't really be justified. As you can see here, the camera in this diagram has moved 30 degrees during the editing process of this production, so the 30-degree rule has not been broken. This will not break viewers' immersion, thus it is appropriately used. One more very essential rule directors and editors use is called the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds dictates that no main asset in a video or picture be in the centre of the screen. Editors and directors have used this method of filming for years. It involves splitting up your frame into 9 boxes. You want to have your point of interest intersected with some of these lines, as you can see on screen here. And now here are some popular continuity editing techniques. A jump cut is most commonly used in film and television to manipulate time. It can turn a slow, calm scene into a faster paced scene. An example would be if a subject were to be shaving. The viewer does not want to watch an entire tedious scene of a subject shaving, so the use of jump cutting is appropriate here. We can apply multiple jump cuts to the same scene as long as the frame doesn't change too much. This may throw off the audience and break immersion. Parallel editing, or cross-cutting, is the technique that uses 2 or more scenes that alternate in a similar fashion. This often happens simultaneously but in different locations. An example could be 2 different chase scenes where the camera is following a certain subject and then cuts to a different scene in a different location, but sort of following the same premises as the first scene. Shot reverse shot is a film technique where one character is shown looking at another character who is usually often off screen, and then the other character is shown looking back at the first character. This technique can be used to manipulate the scene. An insert shot is a shot that is edited into the main scene but from a different angle. This usually diverts the attention slightly from the subject to different parts of the scene. This can be used for build-up/tension and can increase the viewer's immersion during the scene. Point of view shots, or POV shots, are commonly used in horror films as it shows what the subject is looking at through the view of their own eyes. This shot creates certain effects and tension depending on the current atmosphere of the scene. A montage is an assortment of different clips put together for a build-up/action time-lapse. This method can also add tension and please viewers whilst keeping the action scene flowing and alive. Cut-ins and cutaway shots are the shots that either cut to a main asset in the frame/main scene or cut away from the main scene to a different subject. There are 4 types of transitions I will go into: fade, wipe, dissolve and cut. Fade transitioning fades the shot to a single colour, usually black or white. This usually signifies the end or beginning of a scene. Wipe transitioning entails one shot is progressively replaced by another shot in a geometric pattern. This is most famously used in the Star Wars franchise by George Lucas. Dissolve transitionings usually just entails one clip to fade into the next clip. This works for calm scenes and keeping tension low. Cut transitioning is the generic replace one clip after another. This is how scenes progress, with cuts. Editing can be used to tell a story. The combined elements of film are all rounded off with the final post-production process that is editing. Editing can engage the viewer in many different ways. Different methods are used to increase the viewer's immersion during film. These may be visual effects or unique cuts that editors make, or transitions. Editing can also be used to change the pace of any scene. During fight scenes you may use quick precise cuts, whilst in huge cinematic show-off scenes you may use much longer cuts with slower transitions. In short, editing is the reason why film can tell a story. No editors, no cuts, and with no cuts come no transitions forwards or backwards in a story, which means no story.